This video is about the segments that are formed inside of circles. So in this first picture, we have some segments that go all the way across the circle, but do not go through the center. Those segments are called chords. And we can use a relationship among the sides of the chords in order to solve for missing pieces. So that relationship is that A times B is equal to C times D. And so one way that I help myself out with this is I go ahead and trace the chords in two different colors. All right, so that chord right there, this one, has A and B on it. And then I would get another color and I would trace the other chord. The other color has C and D on it. And all you have to do is multiply the two pieces that are on the same color together and set them equal to the other two pieces multiplied together. So A times B equals C times D. It gets a little bit more tricky when your things start to stick out of the triangle. I'm sorry, out of the circle. So all of these are exactly the same way. It is, let me switch colors really quick. It is the outside, the piece that's on the outside, times the whole thing. And that's going to equal the part that's on the outside times the whole thing. All right, so let's think about that in this picture. This is called a tangent. That's a piece that comes from some point off of the circle and just brushes the edge of the circle. One thing that's cool that you guys will learn about tangents is that if you have two tangents that both come from the same point, like if I drew a tangent going this way, this tangent and this tangent are exactly the same length because two tangents that come from the same point are actually equal to each other. Get that line out of there. All right, but so the equation that I would use to solve for a missing piece here is that the piece on the outside, which is the whole tangent, times the whole thing, which is the whole tangent, so I'm just going to do T times T, is equal to, and now on this one I do the same thing. The piece on the outside is A times the whole thing. Well, the whole thing is this piece that's A plus this piece that's B. So I'm going to put A plus B in there. Now, if you have T times T, that's the same thing as T squared. So you may see this equation written like this. But regardless of how it's written, it's the piece that's on the outside times the whole thing equals the piece that's on the outside times the whole thing. It's actually going to be the exact same thing in this picture. These are called secants. Secants are things that go outside of the circle. So this looks kind of like the exterior angle picture that we talked about in the last slide of notes, or the last video of notes. This exterior angle is equal to these two arcs subtracted and divided by 2. But in this case now, we're talking about the segments, not the angles. And so we're going to do the exact same thing. Outside times the whole thing equals outside times the whole thing. So on this first secant, the part that's on the outside is A, and the whole thing would be A plus B. And on this second secant, the part that's on the outside is C, and the whole thing is C plus D. Now, if you watch the examples videos, you'll see me do some of these in problem form where we're actually solving for a missing piece.